The invitation never came. I stared at my phone for the third time that morning, scrolling through empty notifications, willing something to appear. Marcus's wedding was in 6 hours, and my name wasn't on any guest list. 28 years of brotherhood, reduced to silence. The last time we'd spoken was 8 months ago, in the sterile conference room of Hayes Maritime Solutions, the company our grandfather built from nothing, the legacy I'd spent 15 years nurturing from a small coastal operation into a global shipping empire. According to YouTube analytics, 99.3% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Marcus had walked in with lawyers, documents, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It's nothing personal, David," he'd said, sliding the papers across the mahogany table. "But the family business needs younger leadership. More flexible thinking." Flexible. The word still burned. What he'd meant was someone willing to cut corners, to ignore the safety protocols I'd implemented, to chase profits over principles. Someone who wouldn't ask uncomfortable questions about the new investors from overseas, or the sudden influx of cash that came with no clear source. I'd built my career on integrity, graduated top of my class from the Naval Academy, served 2 tours as a naval officer, earned my captain's stripes through merit and dedication. When I'd left active duty to help run the family business, I'd brought those same values with me. Every ship we operated met or exceeded safety standards. Every employee was treated fairly. Every contract was transparent. Marcus had called it old-fashioned thinking. The board, stacked with his friends and our father's old cronies, had called it impediment to growth. They'd voted me out 7-2. I'd walked out of that conference room with nothing but my dignity and a severance package that was insulting in its modesty. Marcus had kept the company, the family name on the letterhead, and apparently, the family itself. Now, standing in my small apartment overlooking the harbor where Hayes Maritime's ships still came and went daily, I made a decision that would change everything. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in 3 years. Admiral Richardson's office. "This is David Hayes. Tell the Admiral I need to speak with him about Operation Neptune's Trident." There was a pause. "Please hold, sir." Admiral Richardson and I had history. We'd served together in the Persian Gulf, and I'd saved his career by covering for a mistake that could have cost him his stars. He'd never forgotten the debt, and I'd never collected. Until now. "David Hayes." His voice boomed through the speaker. "I wondered when you'd call." "Sir, I need to discuss something sensitive. Are you free for lunch?" "For you? Always." "But David, I already know why you're calling." My blood chilled. "Sir?" "Your brother's operation. We've been watching Hayes Maritime for 6 months. The money laundering, the arms shipments hidden in legitimate cargo, the connections to some very unsavory characters in Eastern Europe. We know about all of it." I sank into my chair. "I had no idea." "We know you didn't. That's why you're not in handcuffs right now. Your reputation preceded you out of that company. But David, we need your help." 3 hours later, I was sitting in a secure facility downtown, being briefed by people whose names I'd never know. Hayes Maritime wasn't just cutting corners, it was facilitating international crime on a scale that boggled the mind. Arms trafficking, money laundering, human trafficking routes hidden within legitimate shipping manifests. And Marcus was at the center of it all. "We need someone on the inside," Admiral Richardson explained. "Someone with legitimate access to the company's operations. Someone they trust." "They voted me out," I reminded him, "but you're still family." "Still a Hayes. And today," he slid a folder across the table. "Today, your brother is marrying the daughter of our primary target. Viktor Kozlov's daughter, Anya. This isn't just a wedding. It's a merger of criminal enterprises." I opened the folder and saw photos of the ceremony preparations. Massive security, foreign dignitaries, and faces I recognized from international watch lists. "We need eyes and ears at that wedding," Richardson continued. "We need to know what deals are being made, what operations are being planned. And we need evidence." He produced a small device, no bigger than a shirt button. "Recording device. Military grade, undetectable. You get us what we need, and we'll take down the entire network." "And Marcus?" The Admiral's expression softened slightly. "Your brother made his choice, David. Now you need to make yours." I stared at the device, thinking of all the years Marcus and I had spent together, building sandcastles on the beach behind our grandfather's house, racing sailboats in the harbor, dreaming of expanding the family business together. But those dreams had died in that conference room 8 months ago, along with something else. My naivety about who my brother really was. What do I need to do? The plan was audacious in its simplicity. I would arrive at the wedding venue, the Grand Harbor Resort, owned by one of Kozlov's shell companies, and present myself as uninvited family. Marcus wouldn't dare turn me away in front of his new associates. Too many questions, too much attention. I spent the afternoon preparing, both mentally and physically. The recording device was sewn into the lining of my jacket. A backup was hidden in my watch. I reviewed the faces I needed to identify, the conversations I needed to overhear. But mostly, I tried to prepare for seeing Marcus again. At 6:30, I stood outside the resort's main entrance, watching black sedans and luxury cars deposit guests in expensive suits and glittering gowns. The security was impressive. Not wedding security, but the kind that came with earpieces and concealed weapons. I approached the main desk, where a young woman in an elegant black dress was checking names against a list. "Name, please?" "David Hayes." She ran her finger down the list once, then twice. Her smile became strained. "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't see your name here." "There must be some mistake," I said calmly. "I'm the groom's brother." She whispered something into a small microphone at her wrist. Within moments, a large man in a dark suit appeared at my shoulder. "Sir, if you're not on the list..." "David?" I turned to see Marcus approaching, resplendent in a white tuxedo that probably cost more than most people's cars. His face was a careful mask of surprise, but I caught the flash of something else. Fear? Anger? It was gone too quickly to tell. "Marcus." I kept my voice neutral. "Congratulations on your wedding." For a moment we stood there, two brothers who had once been inseparable, now facing each other across an unbridgeable chasm of betrayal and suspicion. Then Marcus's expression shifted, and that politician's smile I'd come to hate spread across his face. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced to the nearby guests, his voice carrying across the elegant lobby. "I'd like you to meet my brother." He paused, and I saw calculation in his eyes. He was about to humiliate me, I realized. About to make it clear that I wasn't welcome, wasn't important enough to be invited to his own wedding. But then something changed. His gaze flicked to someone behind me, I couldn't see who, and his smile became genuine for the first time in months. "Welcome, Admiral Hayes." The words hit me like a physical blow. Admiral Hayes. He knew. Somehow, impossibly, he knew about my conversation with Richardson, about the investigation, about everything. The room seemed to slow around me as the implications crashed down. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't Marcus being petty about our business dispute. This was a trap, and I had walked right into it. "Admiral?" The woman at the desk looked confused, but Marcus was already moving, placing a firm hand on my shoulder. "My brother recently received a very prestigious appointment," he announced to the gathering crowd. "Please, David, join us. We have so much to celebrate." His grip on my shoulder was steel disguised as silk. I had two choices: run and blow my cover, or play along and hope I could complete the mission before whatever Marcus had planned could unfold. I chose to stay. The ceremony itself was a masterpiece of criminal theater. Anya Kozlova was genuinely beautiful, with sharp cheekbones and ice-blue eyes that missed nothing. Her father, Victor, stood like a mountain in his expensive suit, radiating the kind of quiet menace that had built his empire from the ruins of the Soviet Union. I recognized at least a dozen faces from the briefing files: arms dealers, money launderers, human traffickers, all dressed in their finest clothes and playing at civilization. And presiding over it all was my little brother, accepting congratulations and making small talk as if he wasn't, orchestrating one of the largest criminal enterprises in the Northern Hemisphere. During the cocktail hour, I activated the recording device and began circulating. The conversations were revealing but carefully coded, references to shipping delays that were actually arms deliveries, personnel transfers that involved human cargo, expansion opportunities in war-torn regions where desperate people could be easily exploited. I was photographing a seating chart when I felt a presence behind me. "Enjoying the party, brother?" I turned to find Marcus holding 2 glasses of champagne. His smile was predatory now, all pretense dropped. "It's quite a celebration," I replied carefully. "You've done well for yourself. We both know why you're here, David." He handed me a glass, and I noticed his hand was completely steady. "The question is, what are you planning to do about it?" I took a sip of champagne, buying time. "I'm here to celebrate my brother's wedding." "No," Marcus said quietly. "You're here because Admiral Richardson sent you. You're here because the Navy wants to bring down our operation. You're here wearing recording devices and taking photographs." My blood turned to ice. "Marcus, the champagne you just drank contains a mild paralytic," he continued conversationally. "Nothing fatal, just something to keep you compliant while we have a real conversation. You have about 10 minutes before it takes effect." The glass slipped from my numb fingers and shattered on the marble floor. Around us, the party continued, but I could see the subtle shift as security personnel moved into position. "How long have you known?" I managed. "Since the day you left the company. Did you really think I'd let you walk away with 15 years of inside knowledge and not keep tabs on you? I know about every phone call, every meeting, every contact you've made, including Richardson. Admiral Richardson has been feeding us information about Navy operations for 3 years," Marcus said casually. "Your old friend is deeper in our pocket than you ever imagined. When he called to tell us about your visit, well, it seemed like the perfect opportunity to tie up some loose ends." The paralytic was starting to work. My legs felt heavy, my vision slightly blurred, but my mind was still sharp enough to understand the full scope of my brother's betrayal. "The wedding," I realized. "This isn't a celebration. It's a cover." "Very good. Tonight, while everyone is focused on the happy couple, the largest arms shipment in our organization's history is being loaded onto 3 of our cargo vessels. By morning, enough weapons to fuel a dozen conflicts will be on their way to buyers across the globe." I tried to reach for my phone, but my arm wouldn't respond properly. Marcus watched with clinical interest as I struggled against the drug's effects. "The real tragedy," he continued, "is that you forced this. If you'd just stayed retired, stayed quiet, you could have lived out your days with your principles intact. But you had to play hero one more time. What are you going to do?" The words came out slurred but audible. "Nothing dramatic. You're going to have a heart attack, brought on by the stress of seeing your estranged brother's wedding. Very sad. Very believable. The autopsy will show you'd been struggling with depression since losing the company. The paralytic will be metabolized by then. Untraceable." He signaled to someone behind me, and I felt strong hands grip my arms. "Goodbye, David." I'm sorry it had to end this way. As they began to drag me toward a side exit, my vision swimming, I thought about all the times Marcus and I had sailed together as children, how we'd promised to always have each other's backs, to never let anything come between us. I thought about the recording device sewn into my jacket, now useless, about Admiral Richardson's betrayal, about the weapons that would flow across the world because I'd failed, but mostly I thought about something Marcus didn't know: the backup plan. Because David Hayes might have trusted his brother once upon a time, but Admiral Hayes had learned never to go into hostile territory without an exit strategy. The paralytic was strong, but not perfect. As they dragged me through the service corridor, I managed to press the emergency beacon hidden in my watch, not the obvious one Marcus's people had probably found and disabled, but the real one, disguised as a simple time adjustment button. 3 miles offshore, a Navy SEAL team received the signal and began moving toward shore. And in the harbor, 3 cargo ships carrying the largest arms shipment in criminal history had no idea they were about to become evidence in the biggest takedown in international law enforcement history. I passed out just as they loaded me into a service van, but I was smiling. I woke up in a hospital bed, with Admiral Richardson sitting beside me reading a newspaper. For a moment, I thought I was still drugged and hallucinating. "Easy, David," he said, noticing my confusion. "You're safe." "But you betrayed me," Marcus said. Richardson laughed, and it was the same booming sound I remembered from our Navy days. Marcus said exactly what we wanted him to say. "Did you really think I'd let you walk into that den of thieves without backup?" The pieces slowly fell into place. "You were playing double agent. For 18 months, feeding them just enough real information to maintain credibility while building the case against them. When you called, it was the perfect opportunity to spring the trap. The paralytic, harmless saline solution. Our people switched it out hours before the ceremony, though I have to say, you sold the drug reaction beautifully." I tried to sit up, my head still spinning. "What happened? Did we get them?" Richardson's smile was savage. "We got them all. Marcus, Kozlov, the entire network, the weapons shipment, the money laundering operation, the human trafficking routes, everything. It'll take years to unravel the full scope of their crimes." "And Marcus?" The Admiral's expression sobered. "He's in federal custody, along with his new bride and father-in-law." "I'm sorry, David. I know this can't be easy." I stared at the ceiling, processing it all. My brother, my little brother who'd once cried when he accidentally stepped on a hermit crab, was going to spend the rest of his life in prison. "David," Richardson said gently, "there's something else. The Navy would like to offer you a position. We need someone to head up a new task force focused on maritime crime, someone with both military experience and private sector knowledge." "Admiral Hayes?" I said quietly, testing the words. "It has a nice ring to it, doesn't it?" I thought about it for a long moment. About second chances and new beginnings. About choosing between the family you're born into and the family you choose. When do I start? 2 years later, I stood on the bridge of the USS Integrity, watching as my task force intercepted another shipment of illegal weapons. The Hayes Maritime Task Force had become the most successful anti-trafficking unit in naval history, and I'd earned my admiral's stars through merit, not politics. Sometimes I still thought about Marcus, serving his life sentence in federal prison. I'd visited him once, shortly after his conviction. He'd looked older, grayer, but unrepentant. "You destroyed everything," he'd said through the plexiglass barrier. "The company, the family, our future." "No," I'd replied. "You did that the day you chose money over morality. I just made sure you couldn't take anyone else down with you." I never visited again. The Hayes family name still meant something in maritime circles, but now it stood for justice rather than profit, for service rather than self-interest. I'd built something new from the ashes of the old, something our grandfather would have been proud of. As the sun set over the harbor where I'd grown up, where I'd learned to sail and dream and believe in the power of doing the right thing, I allowed myself a moment of satisfaction. Admiral Hayes had a nice ring to it indeed. And this time, when invitations went out for family celebrations, I made sure everyone who deserved to be there got one, even if some of them would be reading theirs from behind prison bars.